All right. Hopefully, y'all are ready today for the post work show. We are chilling today. We got some pretty good topics. At the same time, we still need to have plenty of guests. So, without further ado, I'm going to run this little skit here that I had to the side. Let's see if I can find it. Because there's a lot going on. Let me see. Where is it at? All right, nice. Let's see. Perfect. All right, guys. Hope you had a good day at work. For all the people that put in work today, you've been working overtime and everything. We appreciate you. You help the world go round. Without you guys, the United States will be at a standstill. You're not appreciated. We are not appreciated as much as we should be. So I want to do a shout out and a salute to you guys, all out there working at overtime, always putting in work, making sure we get the job done before we get what we need out the day. So shout out to everybody that works hard. So life is definitely a little different for everybody. We all have our issues. Okay. So we have to work together to be there for each other because not everybody has somebody. And having somebody is a part of the win. Because if you can't win, a lot of people realize what's the point of playing the game? Who wants to play to lose? Who wants to just play so other people can win? There has to be a loser, right? And if two people aren't playing the game, how can somebody win? Exactly. Unless you're playing against yourself, which is one of the things a lot of players we learn to do. We learn to play against ourselves and beat our own high scores. And I actually have a video that can let you know that it is possible that you can set the high score and keep beating your own high score, which is wild because a lot of people don't even understand that concept. Actually, setting the scoreboard. Mm. Now, this is the part that's irritating me. I have 15 lighters in my vicinity, and now all of a sudden can't find one. That is wild. That's wild. Not one? Really? Okay, there it is. They're always hiding. Always hiding in the deepest, darkest corners. Damn lighters. So, life is looking pretty good. A lot of people are going through a tough time right now. Um, Me personally, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I don't have everything, but I'm safe. I'm safe. I have enough to figure out what's my next move. A lot of people can't even figure out what their next move is. And that's one of the sad parts about life. See, if you can't see, if you have no vision, it's a lot harder to make good choices. Now, we all need to make the best choices that we can make. All right? And our choices affect people. So we have to choose who we're going to be. We have to decide what our character is through our actions And that would be our choices. If you do not want to change, if you do not want to better yourself, if you do not want to break outside of this matrix, if you want to live in your comfortable delusion that they have built for you, do not watch these videos. Leave this channel immediately. If you do not want any truth, if you don't want to understand, if you are not here to hear something that's outside of your own mind and accept others' minds and opinions and the way they think for themselves, you do not belong here. And finally, if you are not trying to be positive, if you are not trying to help create solutions while we discuss the problems and how they got here, you do not belong here. Negativity, hate, disrespect, name calling, those things will not be allowed here on this platform and not in this empire. We are the ones, the true Americans that want to be free and stand as we have always stood. All right, guys, here we go. I got some lineups here. I just wanted to start off with something fun real quick. I saw this, the longest ski jump ever. This was trippy. I was like, wait a minute. People actually do that? That's scary. But you know how it is with life. Let me go ahead and run these real quick because I'm not trying to hurt nobody's feelings. All right, let's see. All right, here we go. Fair use on this one. We're just watching this little jump real quick. Little jump.
Here we have the biggest ski jump in the world.
ここで今から世界記録を狙いたいと思います。今の僕の記録が252メートルで。
That's crazy. Would you do it? I ain't doing that.
世界記録まであと少しなので、それを大幅に塗り替えていきたいと思います。コーチのヤンネはあんまり乗り気じゃないんですけどね。
That dude's flying.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah, I think I'm more nervous than you are. There are so many challenges to smash this world record. But the first challenge is that there is no ski jump big enough in the world, so we need to build our own. We needed the real expert to build it.
We first had to figure
They had to build some custom skis just to jump it. That's wild.
out exactly what we needed to make this jump work.
We have 34 degrees and 250 meters.
We had to find the right slope, angle, and length. Condition.
Dang, they doing some real mathematics over here. These dudes is trying to solve a problem. And you know what's crazy? If we took this much energy to solve homelessness and all these other things, do you know how the world would be so much better?
Air pressure. So, after all the calculations and modeling, we searched all over the world for the perfect hill to build this jump.
This angle looks good for me. 20 meters.
チャレンジする場所はアイスランドの山にジャンプ台作っちゃおう。
We have to move snow as much as possible. Day and night, 24 hours. The weather is quite rough. This is not what we need. You know, of course, I'm worried about that. The other day we had a nice sunshine, almost 0 wind, and I would like to see one of those days the next week.
I've been working here for over half a year now. We moved more than
結構鳥肌立ちました。
heavy.
Moving up.
And out here, right up the mountain.
やる状態で結構鳥肌立ちました。
Heavy. Then I'm
We have calculated the speed needed.
105.
But the only person who can tell us if it's really right is Ryoyo.
強い風への対応性というか、空中での
It's that today. Launching himself and flying through the air around 9 to 10 seconds. Actually, the wind is the only thing that can destroy this. Because the speed is so fast and he's staying in the air so long, the weather and the wind conditions are extremely important.
Still too much wind for Yanni.
I'll be standing there and wave him down with the flag when it's safe to go.
With the wind at current now, we should not jump. Out. Take him off the bar, too much wind.
I will not let him down when it's, if there's anything wrong with the condition. That's my job, that's my responsibility. This breeze will suck him down, yeah. Also, more longer he will wait, more stress it is, yes. Okay, it's getting better. Yeah, let him jump. You can set them.
Okay, go on.
Now it's really good.
Like it's getting better now. I think we should be ready and prepare.
Okay, get ready. Not totally, but almost calm wind, so now it's supposed to be much better chances to fly. Yo-yo's ready? Ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Go! Nice start.
Estimated distance 175.
And still possible more. Still possible more, yes.
やばい。これはむずいぞ。これは集中しないとやばいよ。難しいね。もっと飛びたいので再挑戦。
Changing and hunting the record. Flag up, you go to the gate. Go.
3, 2, 1, take off. Good in the air.
He's a little bit late with the timing here. He cannot find the ideal rhythm.
Once again.
He'll be waiting. 100 meters per hour. Good in the air.
He's losing the speed here. Okay. So he's supposed to be more. Yeah.
3, 2, 1, take off.
惜しい多分そんな良かった。ジャンプ変えた。
Okay. He can prepare. He can fly. Fantastic. Conditions are looking really good. Yo-yo's ready?
3,
Wild.
2, 1, go.
Longest speed jump ever. Go, 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 go. Oh, and he's stuck it. Alright.
Distance of the jump 291 meters. New world record.
We just saw a world record right there. I like that. Good stuff. So, just so we're all aware, that was epic. We don't get to watch things like this anymore. We used to have like Evel Knievel jump in the Grand Canyon and things like that. Nowadays, people, they just feel like they are the impossible. But I won't lie, most people are impossible. Oh my gosh. Like, wow. Well, next thing, let's see what we got on the menu. We got a few other things here. There was quite a few things. We got a lot of homies that are out doing their thing right now. A lot of lives out there. But shout out to all my people live, my people, my panelists, my other open panels. Much love for you guys. Always got to welcome in everybody that's here. Always appreciate you being here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this next thing. Looks like we got the playlist. Hold on. There we go. We watched that one. All right, cool. We do have some new stuff in the knowledge well.
Here is something they don't teach you.
We have some new stuff in the knowledge well. So we have a lot of things in our life that are not clear. And how we determine clarity is through reason and experimentation, which would be experience. The hardest part about experience, is trying to master failure without failing. Because failure without failing is success. Yes, I'll repeat that again. Failure without failing is a success. And how we get to these successes is through experimentation, because we have to try new things, or we cannot find out what doesn't work. And the easiest way to find out what works is to know what doesn't work. Because one of these times, when you're trying to figure out what doesn't work, it'll work, and you're like, whoa. So we have to take those things into consideration. Our life here is not only short and finite, but it has a purpose to the grand scheme, to the bigger picture. The bigger picture is something we're not privy to because we're in the painting, we're in the photo. So we can't actually see it, which is why we have to stop being ourselves for a few moments so we can get a bird's eye view. Here, if you are less self, you can understand someone else because you can attune your frequency to their frequency because you are tuning out of your frequency. See, the longer you're you, the harder it is to understand somebody else. Unless you went through similar experiments or experiences, you guys wouldn't have the same outcome. So, clock it. Next part. Right here, life. It is one of the best things we can do. One of the best things we can do is enjoy the fruits of our labor. Have a beer, kick back. It's after work, man. A lot of people don't understand. Relax, chill, hang out. You don't have to be rowdy and mad and upset all the time. Everybody has a need for vengeance because everybody has been done wrong at least once in their life. And through that experiment or that experience, they harden their hearts because coming to a conclusion through experimentation or experience, it can solidify truth. It can solidify facts. And the hardest part about dealing with facts and truths is knowing which ones are principles versus the facts. Because a principle is not fact. And because your experiment or your experience brings you to a principality, which would be, oh, I've been stolen from, and the person was really close to me, and this is how they acted. Now you have a principle which you live by. Okay, that's the difference between a fact and a principle. Now we have to determine the difference between lies and truth, because we established yesterday the truth and the lie are the same thing. It is what you believe, or is the story you're telling. The only difference between the two is if you believe one or the other. So you can believe the lie or you can believe the truth. That's the only difference. They're both stories. But whichever one you believe, okay, you have to put it to experimentation or experience and see if it works. Because if it doesn't work, then it's not fact, which would be a truth. Okay? I know the complexities of the world. But guess what? This is a part of the book. Okay? This is the audio version. I gotta go back through not got to write everything and put it in the book. We're going to go ahead and make sure we have principles and facts, truths, and lies in there. The lies to look out for, the truths to stand on, okay? The principles to live by, and the facts that support them. This is what the book is all about. This is what life is all about. So, when we think about the grand scheme, the bigger picture, you have to stop being you first before you can see everyone altogether. Especially if you have nothing but a sore spot. You have nothing but wounds and pain that you can't let go. The self-love, the self-healing process must continue because you cannot love others unless you love yourself. And this is one of the problems a lot of people have. They confuse selfishness with self-love. And we went over that already. So when we come to facts, truth, see what I mean? This is what supports the principles or the lies. Because you can have a fact that can support a lie, for sure. Somebody was there at the time of the incident. That's a fact, they were there, but the lie could be they did something at that instant. No, they didn't do anything. See? So you can always have facts, and you can always have principles that can back up whatever it is you consider. No, you can have the facts and truth that back up whatever you would consider as that. Sorry, train of thought just lost because this just popped into my mind right now. The lies are often so good, it sounds true. And that's where we get too good to be true. There can even be supporting factors that make that lies look so true. So this is what we battle with. This is what we battle with. It's going to be a minute before people stay. People stick around. But they got to want to have that conversation. And we'll get a spy. The spies will come and see just to see if anybody is in here, see what I'm doing, and then bounce. At the end of the day, keep on looking because the stuff I'm spitting is real. They'll do reviews on it because they're watching. And here's the cool part. When they do pop up, it's going to be a great conversation to have. So yeah, I'm prepared for it all. Now let's get into some of this right here. This is a short one, but this one's a little wild. Don't hate me because you
There is
ain't
something
me.
wrong with our calendar. I don't mean that metaphorically. I don't mean it as a... There is something wrong with our calendar. I don't mean that metaphorically. I don't mean it as a feeling, a spiritual intuition, or a complaint about how fast the years seem to pass. I mean it structurally, mathematically, demonstrably. Something is wrong. And the deeper I looked, the more I began to...
All right, let me run this these disclaimers one more time. I'm not trying to hurt nobody's feelings, ain't trying to take nobody's stuff. All right.
There is something wrong with our calendar. I don't mean that metaphorically. I don't mean it as a feeling, a spiritual intuition, or a complaint about how fast the years seem to pass. I mean it structurally, mathematically, demonstrably. Something is wrong. And the deeper I looked, the more I began to suspect that the wrongness wasn't accidental. Here is the most basic version of the problem. The Gregorian calendar, the one hanging on your wall, the one your phone uses, the one that governs every deadline, every birthday, every fiscal quarter of modern civilization, is irregular, chaotic even. Months of
Yes, I won't lie. This damn calendar is so annoying. Why is February so short? I needed 2 more days in this month and I'd have been straight, right? Nah, I'm just playing. But still, it's all wonky. How you got 30s, 31s, a 28. Like, what the hell? Come on, man. Y'all just trying to confuse people. I don't like it. See how they always up to something? And when I say they, it is not the normal person. It is the people that run whatever it is in the shadows. It could even be devil. Sure, we'll go there. All the evil in the world is they.
28, 29, 30, and 31 days distributed in a pattern no child can memorize without a knuckle trick. February shrinks in most years and expands in others. The quarters don't align. The weeks don't divide evenly into months. The months don't divide evenly into years. It's a system that appears, on close inspection, to have been designed not for human use, but for something else entirely. For control, perhaps. For confusion. For the production of a population permanently slightly off rhythm, permanently slightly disoriented, permanently dependent on external authority to tell them what day it is. That sounds like a strong claim. Stay with me, because there is an alternative. There always was. A calendar system so elegant, so mathematically precise, so perfectly synchronized with natural and lunar rhythms that once you understand it, the Gregorian calendar doesn't just seem impractical. It seems intentional, intentionally broken. 13 months, 28 days each, 13 times 28 equals 364, exactly 52 weeks, exactly 4 perfect 7-day cycles per month, every year, without exception. Add one ceremonial day outside the monthly count, a day of transition, a day of zero, a day that many ancient traditions specifically marked as sacred, and you have 365. A solar year, perfect, whole, repeating. The deeper I went, the more I found this wasn't a fringe idea.
Okay, so the thing that's making me feel some kind of way about this is we all know this is intentional. We all know this is intentional. Why are we going along with these things? I will never understand. We just let them do whatever and just listen. We don't stand up as people like, nah, you're crazy. We're not doing that. When they were the minority, like now they convinced everybody that they're smarter than us. Wow. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It wasn't a conspiracy theory scrawled in a notebook. It was the operating calendar of civilizations that built things we still can't fully explain. The Maya, the ancient Egyptians, the Druids of pre-Roman Britain, the Lakota, the Yoruba. 13 months, 28 days, across continents, across millennia, without contact. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision. Why? Here's the strangest part. You already carry the evidence of this calendar inside you. The human menstrual cycle averages 28 days, 13 cycles per solar year. This is not mythology. This is biology. It is, in fact, one of the oldest clocks in nature, older than any civilization, older than any system of governance, older than any king who ever decided how many days belonged in a month. The human body was already synchronized to this rhythm before we had words for it, and the moon. The synodic lunar cycle, the time it takes for the moon to return to the same phase, is approximately 29.5 days. But the sidereal cycle, the moon's true orbit measured against the fixed stars, is 27.3 days. The 28-day month sits almost exactly between these two measurements. It is the averaging of the moon's own rhythm. As if someone or something looked at the sky, looked at the body and said, these two are speaking the same language. Let us build a calendar from that. Instead, what we have is months named after Roman emperors. July for Julius Caesar. August for Augustus. Months whose lengths were literally adjusted, stolen from one month, added to another to make certain.
Wow. We got months named after. So the Romans, remember we were talking about what happened to the Romans. Don't worry, we're gonna start touching into it. We in the rabbit hole, but we just scratching the surface so we can bust open your mind a little bit. Mm-hmm. So this right here, this is gonna come up. This is gonna come up. Yep, we're gonna have to start clipping somewhere around here, but I'm not sure yet. We'll let it determine what the show is. We'll see real quick. Hold on, go ahead.
Emperor's months longer than others. This raises a simple but critical
The emperor's months are longer than others. I see. Hold on. We're trying to put some dots together.
question. When did the measurement of time become a political instrument? The answer appears to be the moment it was taken away from the natural world and handed to the state. This is where the documentary shifts. Because what I found, what the deeper research actually reveals, is that this wasn't entirely forgotten. It wasn't simply lost to history and mourned in silence. At a specific moment in the early 20th century, people knew, scholars, economists, reformers, philosophers, they knew that the Gregorian calendar was inefficient, irrational, and misaligned with both human biology and
Inefficient, irrational, and misaligned with the human body. They knew this before they went to it. So this is giving us evidence that this was intentional. So we'll see what's going on next.
natural cycles. And they organized a serious, sustained, internationally coordinated effort to change it, the International Fixed Calendar, also called the Cotsworth Plan, after Moses B. Cotsworth, a British statistician who in 1902 published a meticulous analysis of calendar reform. Cotsworth's proposal was essentially a reconstruction of the ancient 13-month structure, 13 months of 28 days each, every month identical, every quarter perfectly equal, every year beginning on the same day of the week. He called the 13th month Saul, placed between June and July, a name that carried its own weight, positioned at the height of the solar year, at the height of summer light.
And that's the 13 solar months, right? So this right here, we got to put that.
Evidence suggests something much larger was at stake than mere bookkeeping. Cotsworth wasn't alone. George Eastman, founder of Kodak, one of the most influential industrialists in American history, adopted the International Fixed Calendar for his own company in 1928 and used it internally until 1989. He didn't do this quietly or experimentally. He did it because it worked. Productivity improved, administrative burden reduced, the books were cleaner, the quarters were honest, the schedule was sane. Eastman became one of the most vocal public advocates for global calendar reform.
Global calendar reform, the guy that created the company Kodak. All right. That would be the pictures, right? Kodak moment. Yeah, remember that? For all the old heads.
He testified, he lobbied, he funded campaigns, and here's where the silence becomes deafening. The League of Nations took up the question of calendar reform in the 1920s. They formed committees, they received proposals, hundreds of submissions arrived from around the world, from governments, from businesses, from religious institutions, from ordinary citizens. The International Fixed Calendar was among the frontrunners. There was serious international momentum, real institutional weight behind the idea, and then almost nothing. The reform stalled, the committees dissolved, the momentum dissipated. By the mid-1930s, the conversation had effectively ended. The Gregorian calendar remained. The fixed calendar was quietly shelved, not debated to defeat, not voted down in a famous session, not dismantled by a superior argument, just buried, as if it had never been seriously considered, as if the most elegantly designed calendar system in the modern era.
Wow. Really? Not even a little bit of pushback at all. It just goes off the radar and everybody just agrees. I wonder. Very interesting. We'll have to ponder that.
Had simply failed to gain traction through ordinary bureaucratic inertia. The official explanation collapses here. If you want to understand why a genuinely superior system doesn't get adopted, you have to ask a different set of questions. Not why wasn't it better? It clearly was better. Even its opponents admitted that. Not why wasn't it promoted? It was aggressively promoted by some of the most powerful industrialists and reformers of the era. Not even why didn't governments want efficiency? Governments routinely claim to want efficiency. No, the question is who specifically benefits from the chaos? And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Irregular months create irregular accounting. Irregular accounting requires intermediaries, accountants, administrators, clerks, entire professions whose existence depends on the complexity of time management. Irregular quarters make financial comparison difficult. A month in one quarter has 31 days, while the same month's equivalent in another calendar year has 28. Try comparing performance across those periods honestly. You can't. Not cleanly. Not without adjustment factors, conversion tables, professional interpretation. The deeper I went into the economic history of early 20th century finance, the more the resistance to calendar reform looked less like inertia and more like interest, like something protected by the people it protected, as if they were following instructions they didn't fully understand, or perhaps understood perfectly. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across other domains too. Systems that synchronize human beings with natural rhythms, with the body, with the light, with the seasons, have a cure.
This is interesting. The fact that we had more superior. See, that's the thing I've noticed. When we have things that are really good, that would just make life so awesome and easy, it's like, no, we can't do that. It's like, no, we can't do that. Why? Because everybody will have freedom. Everybody will be able to do whatever they want and get along. But why? Why can't we do that? What hurts so much that we can't? I can't. I'm trying to understand it. It's just not making no sense. None at all. No sense. Not even $1, bro. Not even a penny. Not making no sense.
curious historical tendency to be replaced by systems that synchronized human beings with institutions, with clocks and quarterly reports and fiscal years that begin arbitrarily in January because a Roman king decided January belonged to the god Janus, god of doorways and transitions, centuries before the birth of modern finance. Here's what I keep returning to: the physical evidence. Look at the ancient structures aligned to the 28-day cycle. The stone circles of Britain, not just Stonehenge, but dozens of lesser-known sites, are marked in ways that suggest a 28-station lunar calendar. The Aubrey holes at Stonehenge, 56 pits arranged in a circle, 56, 2 cycles of 28. Researchers have proposed for decades that these holes track the lunar cycle in precisely the way a 13-month calendar would require. The official archaeological literature treats this as one possible interpretation among many. But why is this interpretation not more central to our understanding of what Stonehenge was for? The Maya long count calendar, the most precisely engineered timekeeping system ever constructed by a pre-industrial civilization, is built on base 20 arithmetic organized around a 20-day period called the uinal, but embedded within a larger structure that cycles through 13 numbers in continuous rotation. 13 again. And 28 days is how long it takes for the Pleiades, a star cluster considered sacred by the Maya, to complete a specific observational cycle in the sky above the Yucatan, the Egyptian civil calendar. 12 months of 30 days plus 5 epagamenal days, days outside the regular calendar, days considered mythologically dangerous.
See how they keep cutting in? They keep cutting into the sanctity. They're cutting into the sacred, like, man, why change the time? And then every time I think about it, it's like, okay, maybe they wanted to hide revelation. Maybe they wanted to hide a bunch of these other things, because if we do know where we come from and we do know our past, if Jesus is real and these kinds of things, then a lot of people would choose the latter instead of continuing the way the world is and condemning our souls willingly. This is heavy.
Dangerous or sacred. Sound familiar? One day, outside the regular count to complete the solar year, the architecture of the solution is the same. Different culture, different geography, different millennium. The same underlying logic, not coincidence. Not parallel evolution by chance. Not 3 civilizations independently stumbling onto the same imperfect solution. The evidence suggests a shared inheritance, a common source. Something older than any of these cultures' recorded histories, embedded in the practice of tracking the sky before writing, existed to preserve the reasoning. This raises a simple but critical question. If the knowledge was this widespread, this persistent, this durable, what exactly happened to it? And when? There is a specific and documentable pattern in the historical record of calendar transitions. When Rome imposed the Julian calendar on the territories it conquered, it did not simply offer an alternative system, it actively suppressed local timekeeping. Druids who maintained the Celtic lunar calendar were targeted, their traditions criminalized, their oral knowledge deliberately disrupted. When the Gregorian reform replaced the Julian in 1582, entire cultures lost days, literally. Their days disappeared from the legal record. Buildings were dated according to systems that had ceased to exist, and people went to sleep in one month and woke up in another. Moshe Edel, the Kabbalistic scholar, and others in the field of ethnoastronomy have noted that the suppression of indigenous calendar systems was rarely presented as what it was, a political act. It was always framed as correction. Modernization, the replacement of superstition with science, the replacement of the body and the moon with the clock and the state. And here's the strangest part. The people who carried out these transitions, the administrators, the scribes, the priests who adopted new dating systems, in most documented cases, they appear to have understood neither the full logic of the system they were abandoning, nor the full implications of the system they were adopting. As if they were following instructions they didn't fully understand. As if the decision had been made elsewhere, at a level they couldn't access, and their job was only execution. The silence was deafening in the archival record I found around the 1920s calendar reform debates. Key correspondence from the League of Nations Committee is incomplete. There are references to documents that do not appear in the official archive, meeting minutes that summarize discussions without recording their content. The Cotsworth Papers, housed at the University of Toronto, contain significant gaps around the years of peak lobbying, the years when the debate was closest to resolution. Not water damage, not cataloguing errors, not the ordinary entropy of institutional archives. Gaps that appear on inspection to cluster around the most consequential moments. I want to pause here and ask something that isn't usually asked in the context of calendar history. What would it have felt like to live in a world where every month was the same length, where the first of every month always fell on the same day of the week, where you always knew without consulting a device, without checking a calendar, where you were in the cycle, where the rhythm of your work, your rest, your commerce, your ceremony, all of it moved in lockstep with the rhythm of the moon above, and, some argue, with the rhythm of the body itself? I'm not making a mystical claim. I'm asking a practical question. What does it do to a human nervous system to live for generations in a state of chronological irregularity? To never quite know instinctively, bodily, where you are in the year? To experience time as something external and authoritative rather than something internal and natural? There is emerging research in chronobiology, the science of biological time, suggesting that human health, cognitive function, and emotional regulation are deeply affected by alignment or misalignment with natural cycles. The field is young, the implications are largely unexplored, but the question it opens is one I can't close. What if the calendar reform wasn't just about administrative efficiency? What if something else was being argued for and against? Think about what it means to know time the way you know hunger. Not to calculate it, not to check it, but to feel it, the way animals feel the season turning before a single leaf has fallen. There are indigenous communities that maintain the 28-day count.
You know what's crazy? If we had kept that calendar, we'd be more in tune with what's going on in our whole entire world. We probably would have made different decisions because the end of the month would have came at a different time. We would have been able to anticipate. But every limitation that they set on us strips away a little bit of freedom. Remember, freedom is your ability to choose, okay? That right there is something that everybody has. You have freedom. Don't let anybody take your freedom away. Your ability to choose is your freedom. If somebody inhibits your ability to choose, they are stripping the foundation of your freedom. Freedom is nothing else other than the ability to choose. A lot of people have that mistake. And I can't tell anybody, don't believe what you want. Because you can believe what you want, but I told you what freedom is. I've been telling you the truth. I've been doing everything I can to give you the tools to equip you to continue this life and not give up. Me, I almost gave up a couple times. Don't get me wrong. Life is hard. But I didn't. I figured out a way. I stopped being myself for a second and I started to study. I had to study. A lot of people don't study because they think they know enough. See, I was having a conversation with a friend and we were talking about choice and we were also talking about freedom being the same thing and probably the most valuable. But then we were also talking about the whole life and what is it worth? What's keeping us going? Why should we choose every time? Why? Why should we continue? And this is one of the reasons why we have family. This is one of the reasons why we have the ability to create, to make things around us more comfortable. But we could keep going with this real quick and we'll strap this up. They're changing time on this, and we always knew that. We always knew they were manipulating time, daylight savings, and all this thing. It's to keep their calendar alive. Because without those small little tweaks, their calendar would fall apart. Which is why, what? Control. It's got to be control. If it wasn't control, then why would they do it? It's impractical, unless this guy's right.
Into the modern era, and ethnographers who spent time among them noted something difficult to quantify, a different relationship to urgency, to waiting, to the present moment, as if time was something you lived inside rather than something chasing you from behind. We dismissed that as primitivism. What if it was the opposite? George Eastman died in 1932. His company abandoned the International Fixed Calendar in 1989 after 61 years of internal use. No major announcement, no official explanation, just a quiet transition back to the Gregorian system. The World Calendar Association still exists. The 13 Moon Calendar movement, inspired in part by the research of Jose Arguelles, argues for a return to the 28-day cycle. These movements are small. They exist mostly at the margins of public discourse. They are not funded by major institutions. They are not taught in schools. The deeper I went, the more the shape of the thing became visible, not as a single conspiracy with a single architect, but as a pattern. A recurring cross-cultural, multi-century pattern of suppression, replacement, and forgetting. A pattern of taking something that synchronized human beings with the natural world and replacing it with something that synchronized human beings with human institutions instead. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I'm not telling you the Gregorian calendar is evil. I'm not telling you the 13-month calendar is magic. I'm asking why a system that was mathematically superior, biologically resonant, historically documented across dozens of independent civilizations, actively promoted by serious institutional reformers as recently as...
Wow. Why would they do it? It's just incomprehensible. I can't comprehend it. It doesn't make any sense. Wow. Huge L. Huge L.
90 years ago. Why that system sits in the margins of history while a calendar built around the names of Roman emperors governs every life on Earth. I'm asking what we lost when we lost the rhythm. I'm asking whether the word lost is even accurate or whether taken is closer to what the evidence suggests. I'm asking why the deepest silences in the archive always seem to cluster around the moments of replacement, around the transitions, around the exact points where one way of measuring time ended and another began. And I'm asking the oldest version of the question, the one underneath all the others. What did we used to know about time, about the body, about the sky, that we no longer know we've forgotten? And maybe that's the most unsettling realization of all. Not that the knowledge was destroyed, destruction leaves evidence, leaves ash, leaves the memory of fire, but that it was displaced, quietly, incrementally, replaced with something just functional enough that nobody screamed, just workable enough that the loss went unnoticed for generations. We didn't mourn the 13 months because we were never told they existed. We didn't miss the rhythm because we were born already out of step, handed a broken clock and told it was the only clock there ever was. What else have we been handed and never thought to question?
Wow. What else have we been handed that we don't want to question? That we haven't questioned, that we failed to question? So many things. But we'll get to the main debate.
This is how an Arizona man got a $12,495 AC system for free, and how you.
We used a powerful AI model to create two intellectual thinkers, an atheist
We're gonna see
Hi,
what's
I'm an
going
atheist.
on with
and a
this.
believer in God.
Hi, I'm a believer in God.
We put these two thinkers in a face-to-face debate to tackle one of humanity's most challenging questions. To
Now,
judge this debate, we selected
we're
5
gonna
different
see
AI models
what
as referees to see which arguments they would evaluate as stronger. Join
These
us in
AIs, we're gonna see what they have to say about it. Shout out to the channel. Let me see real quick. Shout out to the channel Clarified Mind. I'm gonna give you some props over here. Thank you for everything you did. Thank you for your videos. I appreciate being able to talk about these things right here. These are some good topics that you have brought, and I hope that more people come to your channel. I hope more people see these debates, and I hope more people lean to the correct side.
Promise not to cheat. Don't skip ahead in the video to see the final results. The debate begins now. Does the existence of suffering...
All right, hold on. We need to go back a little bit because this was going really fast. So we'll slow it down a little bit. We'll slow it down 125. All right.
questions. To judge this debate, we selected 5 different AI models as referees to see which arguments they would evaluate as stronger. Join us and promise not to cheat. Don't skip ahead in the video to see the final results.
All right. They said, promise not to cheat. We're not going to cheat, but we want to see. Okay. They're going to have some pretty good.
Join us and promise not to cheat. Don't skip ahead in the video to see the final results. The debate begins now. Does the existence of suffering and evil in the world disprove the existence of God?
All right. That is a good first question. We'll get the playback speed back up. So we'll do 150. All right. Does the existence of suffering and evil in the world disprove God? This is the first question. I believe that just because there is suffering and evil in the world, that only proves that God exists. And the reason why I say that is because if there is an ultimate evil, then God is the ultimate good. Jesus, the Holy Spirit, these things are relevant at this point because that would be the ultimate goodness. And if people aren't acting like that, then there's going to be suffering and evil in the world. So the question defeats itself.
Yes, the existence of suffering and pain in the world is one of the strongest arguments against God's existence. If there's a God who is both all-powerful and all-loving, why would he allow innocent children to die of hunger? Why would cancer exist? Why
More questions. More questions. Why? Why would earthquakes? Why would whining?
would earthquakes and tsunamis destroy
It's all foretold in the Bible. These things are supposed to happen.
innocent families? I know some people say these sufferings are to test our faith or to give us free will, but these justifications aren't logical.
Nah, I wouldn't even say this is free will. I wouldn't even say these are justifications. These are just natural things that happen, and this is what humans do. This is what's in the human's heart. All of this evil, because they're not filling their heart with the Holy Spirit. They're not filling their heart with Jesus and having their mindset on God and the goodness.
A loving father would never torture his child to see how much they love him.
See, God is not torturing us. We are choosing to torture ourselves because we are choosing our sin.
An all-powerful God could create a world with both free will and love.
And there is free will and love in this world. So let's not get cute.
But without all this unnecessary pain and suffering.
The pain and suffering is only necessary because it's the humans inflicting it to each other.
It's like if I had a lab full of mice and deliberately let them suffer and die.
A lab full of mice, and you chose to do it on purpose. God is not doing that. You as a human are doing that.
Just to see which ones would remain loyal to me.
Just to see which ones remain loyal. Rats are not loyal to anybody except if you give them food. And God gave us Jesus, the bread.
This would be unethical, even for an ordinary human, let alone a perfect and all-loving God.
Yes, it is unethical. And even God sees that's unethical. Whatever this guy, the atheist, the AI put forward, this is how y'all sound. Ridiculous.
We asked several large language models to score each response from 0 to 100 based on these 10 criteria. The score these models gave to the atheist's first response is as follows.
Wow. You see how biased those AIs are? You can tell which ones don't believe in God. Gemini was like, I don't know about that. Grok ain't up there because Grok was going to say, nah, that's wrong. Grok was going to beat you up.
I don't deny the suffering that exists in the world, but this suffering isn't proof that God doesn't exist.
I can agree with that.
In fact, without God, we couldn't even say something is bad or unethical.
Exactly what I was saying.
When you say innocent children suffering is bad, you're using a moral standard that itself needs a transcendent source. Consider your mouse lab
See? You need a transcendent source.
example. Why do you think harming mice is wrong?
Hmm.
In a world without God, we're all just collections of atoms that randomly.
Exactly. Without God, it doesn't matter.
came together. In this view, suffering and pain have no real meaning. They're just chemical reactions in the brain. Besides, we can't be sure.
No, I did not watch this before. I just looked at it, I clicked it. I've seen this channel before, and I've done one or two of their I did one or two of their debates. I reviewed it. It was pretty cool. A lot of people were apprehensive because I don't know, just different people, different panels, I guess. But hey, anybody want to come up, you can always come up.
That God doesn't have good reasons for allowing this suffering, like a child who doesn't understand why their parents allow them to get a painful vaccine. From our limited perspective, we might not understand all divine wisdom.
Your comparison with giving a child a vaccine.
Oh wow, they scored the believer lower. They would, whatever. They ain't trying to hear that.
Vaccine is interesting, but there's an important difference. Parents know the vaccine is necessary for the child's health, and
The vaccine is not necessary for the child's health, and the parents don't know that. The government is only telling you that, and you're just supposed to believe the government because the government is God with a question mark.
its short-term pain prevents dangerous diseases.
And it's short-term pain. Because you know it's not good. And it's saying it prevents dangerous diseases, but it could cause the disease itself or have an adverse effect that could kill you. That's the part.
But when a child dies of hunger, what greater good is there?
It takes a while for a child to die of hunger. I'm sure the kid will get something to eat by then.
Regarding ethics without God, your argument isn't logical.
Ethics without God, it is very logical. Because where are you drawing the ethics from without God? Unless you're going to the natural law, right? But the natural law is the strong survive. So then at that point, that would just be a weak child.
We can decide what's right and wrong based on the consequences and impacts of our actions on others. If an act
See, they're trying to say our acts on others, but if the child's parents were dead or were not alive anymore, then we would have to consider that the child would have to figure it out on their own. And if there's nobody around to help the child, or if the people around are more worried about their own children and don't want to help the child, then it's everybody's fault that the child gets hurt. So,
action causes unnecessary suffering to intelligent beings, that action is morally wrong.
to intelligent beings. So when he used the rat, that wasn't intelligent beings.
We don't need God to understand this. Also, if ethics must come from a transcendent source, how do you know that source is benevolent?
Okay, well, if that source is in line with these benevolent actions versus the evil actions, then that would give it credence.
Maybe that transcendent being is evil itself. This is Plato's famous question. Do the gods love good deeds because they are good? Or
He said the gods. And if you're focused on multiple gods, then it doesn't matter because those gods are gods of different things. If you're talking about the true God, okay, the Heavenly Father, and Jesus, the Son, fill him with the Holy Spirit as a Trinity, then that God right there has a whole different set of rules.
are good deeds good because the gods love them?
Now, look at the score. You see, the same two. Gemini's not too convinced.
Let me address your final point about Plato's dilemma. I believe goodness and God are inseparable. It's like
Ooh, goodness and God are inseparable. I like that answer.
asking whether a circle is round because it's round or because that's the definition of a circle.
Ooh. Is a circle because it's round, or is that just the definition of a circle? That's an interesting question.
God is the embodiment of absolute good, so he
God is the embodiment of absolute good, so he cannot be evil. Absolutely.
can't be evil. Regarding the example of starving children, it's true we can't see the greater good, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Exactly. You can't see the greater good, the bigger picture. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen and it's not in existence. See, when it comes to children, we have to remember the parents are responsible and the village is responsible.
You're drawing a general conclusion from our limited knowledge. It's like an ant saying that because it can't understand why humans destroy its nest to build a hospital, there must be no good reason.
Oh, wow. How could an ant say that, right?
About ethics without God, the problem is you can't explain why we should care about others' welfare. In a materialistic world, why should the suffering of others?
Yo, what up, E?
What's up, bro?
Just chilling, chopping up some knowledge you already know.
Yeah, I'm kind of see what you talk about.
Yeah, right now, it's atheist versus the believer. There's this debate that AI are having it. There's a little score. AIs are judging it. So I'm just over here answering the questions and giving my opinion on what they're talking about here. Because some of this stuff from the atheist side is, man, that's easy work. And then they're just biased. These AIs are biased against the believer. I can see it. So it's funny. How was your day, bro?
Been all right. Been doing a lot of little paperwork and gathering some ideas for a little segment I want to do. But other than that, man, how was your day, man?
Man, we've been doing so much overtime, bro. So much overtime.
So, which side are you mostly leaning on when it comes to the believer or the atheist?
Oh, I'm definitely on the believer side, but I think my arguments that I've been making would get scored differently because I've been putting it in a way that you can't deny it, and the AI would start to agree with me. Yep, real shit.
So, is this a video or something that you actually created?
This is a video from a channel, Clarity Mind.
Mm-hmm.
I already gave them the shout out. I threw my little disclaimers. This is just for educational discussion and things like that. You feel me? We just chopping it up. It's after work vibing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Well, I'll be hanging out for a
Well,
little minute and see what's going on, though.
hell yeah. The first question was if God, okay, if there's all the suffering and evil in the world, how could God exist? Pretty much. So that's what they're arguing about right now.
Okay,
I'll click.
got you.
Matter to me. This becomes just a personal preference, not an objective moral truth.
You see how biased they are? Claude is definitely an atheist. It's been almost 90% with the atheist the whole time. But they scored a little better this time.
The problem with your ant comparison is that we humans, unlike ants, have the ability for moral understanding and analysis.
All right. Now okay, so the atheist is trying to come after these ants, right? So he's saying the difference between us and ants, but he's the one that brought up rats. If you had a bunch of rats and you intentionally let them suffer and die, just to see which ones are loyal to you, and I was just like, nah, that doesn't even fit.
That don't even make sense.
I know this atheist is crazy.
And with this ability, we see that many of the world's sufferings are completely meaningless and unnecessary. You ask why we should care about others' welfare. I say this is a question that should be asked of a believer.
Wow, you see, just deflecting. This is a question we should ask of a believer. So it's like, okay, so without God, you can't answer the question? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what it sounds like.
Do you only care about others because God said so?
What?
Right. You see? Told you.
What? It's predictable. So I'm starting to believe that a lot of the people I've been running into on these other panels are they're just NPCs, man. Real stuff.
Meaning, if God said torturing children was good, would you accept it?
Oh my God.
I mean, at a certain point in time, he did allow it.
But he didn't say it was okay to torture. Nobody ever said torture children.
I said, like, okay, the Mayans,
Even
right?
old guys said kill them, but
The
that's not
Mayans, right?
Oh,
They drug
Mayans.
people.
Oh, go ahead.
They drug people up to the highest peak of the Giza, not the Giza, but I forgot the name of the damn pyramid. But you know, the step pyramid.
Yeah.
You don't think those people was thinking about what's about to happen to them? That's
Well, I
torture in
mean,
a way. Suffering.
if we asking about those people, right? We only have the history of what they told us. What if they were actually a nice people? Ooh, that's the thing I've been thinking for a long
If that's the
time.
case, you might as well don't believe nothing then.
Cause like
Might as well
when
be the
you look
atheist.
when you look at their different things, yeah, they had their gods or whatever, and there is a possibility that child sacrifice was a part of their culture, just like a lot of other cultures around that era. There was these Baal
Mm-hmm.
worshippers and things like that. So I'm not saying it's unheard of, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking there's Aztecs. There's a couple different cultures down there, and were they all on the same? Because if they were all on the same thing, why would they kill each other?
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
the Epstein situation and what they doing with the adrenochrome, and even before that, all the satanic rituals and witchcraft they've been performing on children.
Hmm.
Do you consider that torture?
I would consider that without God existing, none of that would even matter, would it?
But they
Satan,
believe in a God, though.
exactly, because they know God exists. And if they know God exists, which is why they're serving Satan, because they want the heavenly earth, you know what I mean? The heaven on earth, it's a choice. Remember when he was tempting Jesus on the mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the thing he asked him?
I can give you the world and all that if you just succumb to me or something like that.
Hmm. Just bow to me, yep. And what are they doing?
Bowing. But since you're on the side of
Exactly.
the believer,
Hmm.
answer this question. If God said torturing children was good, would you accept it though?
If my heavenly Father, the one that gave me Jesus, told me to hurt children, or if it said it was okay, I don't even know if I would even be able to do it.
But God said it's okay.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'd be able to do it because I still have free will.
All right.
That part. I know, right?
All right.
But I mean, like, I'm not saying I would hate God. I'm just saying that I don't know if I could do it. And I might have to be the one that gets murdered. It just happens because some people have a heart for something and some people don't.
It's a moral standard with you.
It's just something about every time I see a kid get hurt, it makes me hurt inside. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And
Most
then like
definitely.
if I see a grown up get hurt, it kind of makes me laugh a little bit. But if I
Oh,
hit
that's
somebody,
that's
I
nah,
feel
that's
the
messed up.
pain.
That's messed up. Pain is pain, regardless of child, woman, or man, animal. Pain is
I'm
pain.
just saying, like
Flowers
when it's
feel
an
pain.
adult, it's a little funny. But if I hit somebody, I feel the pain. That's why I don't hit nobody. Because I know how much I hurt them. Does that make sense?
You can hurt yourself too.
Hmm. Let's see what they talk about real quick.
As social and rational beings, we can understand that cooperation and empathy are essential for survival and the advancement of society.
Cooperation and empathy are essential for survival and the advancement of society. Do you agree? I disagree because tyrants push society's advance all the time without giving a damn.
I disagree as well because in the world that I see today, I don't see none of that cooperation or empathy. They're
That
doing it for
shit's
their own
still
selfish
moving.
gains. Yeah.
Hmm.
Ethics comes from this natural and
The
evolutionary
atheist is
understanding,
losing
not from
bad
the commands of a transcendent being. Besides, history has shown that religious beliefs themselves have sometimes led to immorality and violence.
sometimes. You see those keywords?
Yeah, I agree with that. I can agree with that though.
Well, but that's sometimes. Because
I
if
mean,
you look at
sometimes it's fine.
Islam,
It don't happen all the time.
exactly, that part. And that's where their argument falls apart. This is what I've been pointing out. I'm pointing out how their argument doesn't work because I am a believer. Now, I don't know if everything is true or if the things that were taken out were left out because I know the devil has his hand on this world.
Also, you believe in the God of the Bible.
Yes.
And
because
you,
there's
so
a
you
lot of
believe in
missing
Jesus Christ
pages.
then?
Because how you gonna give me a 66 book Bible, but I know the beast is a 66 and a 6. You see me? So I'm not playing that game with them.
So
I'm
you
looking
believe
at
in
the
the
other
image
ones
of
too.
Jesus then, right?
Not white Jesus or whatever. I believe the description of Jesus is all over all these pages.
So my question
See what
is
I'm
why?
saying?
Yeah, but why would they give us an image that's been plastered all around Western civilization as Jesus?
Can I tell you my theory?
Okay.
I believe the final judgment is coming. Now, I'm not talking about revelations in the beginning. I'm talking about the final judgment. And all the souls have already been let out, which is why we jumped to billions of people out of nowhere. And not only that, there is 1,000 years of missing history, and Jesus was supposed to reign for 1,000 years. It's between the times of 500 AD and
Hmm.
1500 AD. They say the Dark Ages, but that is when Jesus was reigning for his 1,000 years, and now the devil has been loosed. We're in the time of the devil being loosed for the little while before the new Jerusalem comes. The tribulation and all that has already happened years and years ago, thousands of
So the
years ago.
devil only been running around for a short period of time, in your opinion?
That he's only supposed to, because remember, Jesus came and then he was dead for 3 days. But remember, a day for God is like 1,000 years. And then Jesus coming, it was zero. See what I'm saying? See how time reset? And then it was
I
500
would
years,
agree with you
and
if
then
God
it's
didn't,
mhm.
according to the Bible, God banished or cast down Satan into the earth. So he gave Satan dominion over the earth. So Satan been here for the longest.
Well,
Since.
Satan, remember, he had dominion over the earth after the fall of man. The reason why is because the wife that was supposed to submit to the husband submitted to the beast. Do you understand? He became her master. That's why it goes from the Lord thy God to the Lord.
Right, but the serpent
There's two
was.
gods of the Bible. And when I'm telling you this, I believe that it's not the heavenly Father that flooded the world. I think it was the devil that flooded the world.
God already said he did it. That's why he made the
Well,
covenant to never do it again.
well, the reason why I'm saying this is because Jesus never said, I'm a jealous God. He has no one to be jealous of. The Father has no one to be jealous of. Why would you be jealous? Because you are the devil. The context clues are there. It's
If
hidden
that's
in
the case,
plain sight.
God, the fatherly God is the devil then.
No, the heavenly Father, see what I'm saying?
Is a jealous
Jesus
God.
came back. No, he's not. Jesus came back and said, you are of your father, the devil. Because if you knew my father, you would know me. He told them. And they got mad. Yeah, I know. It's starting to make a little more sense now, huh? It's the food for
Hey,
thought.
I'm
It's
just
just a
I'm just trying to
theory.
hey, we all have
Let's see
them.
what they
But
talk about real quick. You could
yeah, go
ask me
ahead,
more
play that.
questions. All right, let's see. Look at that. They keep getting higher and higher.
Your argument about the social and evolutionary origin of ethics has a fundamental problem. Evolution can only explain why we feel certain actions are right or wrong, not whether they actually are right or wrong. It's like saying that because evolution made us like sweetness, eating sweets is a moral truth. Regarding your question about torturing children, you're making an impossible assumption. It's like asking what would happen if 2 plus 2 equaled 5. God can't say torturing children is good because that contradicts his nature of being absolutely good. It's true that some religious people have done immoral things, but this shows they've deviated from their religious principles, not that religion itself is problematic. Just like if a scientist cheats, it doesn't mean the scientific method is wrong.
Ooh, got him. Got him.
Can't argue with that.
Okay,
Damn.
a little bit more fair.
It's interesting that you say my example of child torture is an impossible assumption, because the very God you're talking about is allowing children to suffer right now.
Okay, wow.
Exactly.
He's just supposed to come down from the sky and be like, "Hey, you can't do that." What? That doesn't make any sense. He would
He
be
already
doing that
flooded the
everywhere.
earth. He already flooded the earth and did what he had to do to get rid of all the evil and corruption.
You see why my theory holds tight? Because I believe that is not the Heavenly Father. That is the devil.
Impossible, bro.
Not impossible.
It's
Improbable.
impossible.
Nah.
According to the Bible, that's impossible. You gotta read
According
what
to
the
the
scriptures are
Bible,
saying.
Jesus even says that there's the God of this world. That is the devil. He even says it. And if you are what? Of the world, you are not what? Of me. Not of me, if you're of the world. So it makes sense. He made it very clear. A lot of people don't listen. They just think they heard.
Do you know what of the world means?
Yes. Look at the Satanists. They have all the worldly pleasures. And they're doing what their God is telling them to.
Of the world meant physically.
See, you gotta
Being caught
remember.
up and not being able to realize that this is not your actual home. Spiritually, God was talking to people's souls. He wasn't talking to their vessel. He was talking to their souls. And a lot of people's souls won't listen to it because they was consumed by the world, which is their vessel, the physical world.
And we can stay on that, right? The soul, the spirit, because the actual living soul is the breath of life plus the body. So that's not your spirit. The spirit would be the second body that you're going to inhabit if you get there. But all of us are
Bro,
going
the
to get there.
spirit is the first body, dog.
Because you have to remember, okay, if you want to do it backwards, you can do it that way.
I ain't doing it backwards. You
No,
had a
what I'm
spirit before you
saying
had a body.
from the natural understanding, we
Right,
start in
because
our
you are
physical,
of
because
the
we're
world.
here
You're
in our
thinking of the
physical.
world. See, look, you thinking
I'm
of the
saying,
world. I got you.
No. I'm not thinking of the world. What I'm saying is from the
Call the spirit
understanding
the second
that
body.
we have been presented so other people that are of the world can understand. They look at their physical form as their first form, even though the spiritual is the first form. Now, the mental is the second form. So if we want to flip it, that's fine for the sake of conversation between me and you. But for them, it's still this way. That's all I'm saying. So that way they can understand the levels. So you can have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, or you can have tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1. See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but I've always been a man of trying to keep it simple for no matter who's listening
So
to
then
understand.
tier 1 is your top then, right?
Goddamn. And what would that be in your opinion? The soul, the body, or the mind?
Okay, tier 1 is the soul, in your opinion, right? That would
I'm
be the
asking
top
you.
of
I'm
I'm
asking
asking
you.
you, the top of the pyramid, and you're going down 2, 3. That's how you look at it. Spirit, mind, body. I look at it kind of reverse, where the spirit is on top, and you got 3, and then tier 2 would be your mental, and then your physical body, because you only have 1, would be tier 1. And then the higher you go on the tiers, the more you're in line with your spirit. You can go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and keep going up. That's how I look at it.
Oh, well, I was never taught that.
So, oh yeah, that's how I interpreted it when I was reading the scripture, because we are in the flesh. So this is technically where we're starting, and then we start to understand that, and then we can go and vibe with the spirit in. Because if we don't have understanding, we can't even understand tier 3, tier 5. Tier 5 would be where Jesus sits. Tier 4 would be where the angels hang out in heaven. We're barely scratching tier 4. We're barely flying planes. You know what I'm saying?
You're looking at this from the inner out perspective when
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it from the outer end. So I'm using my mind's eye. Like I hear what you're saying. I've been there before, so I can understand what you're saying. But
Well, what I'm saying is I'm
I don't want to throw
describing
you
it
off
this
your own
way.
trajectory.
Well, no, I'm just describing it this way so it's easy to understand. And then you can kind of flip it how you want. Because a lot of people start at the top of the pyramid, but they never work their way from the bottom. And the bottom is so deep, the depth goes down so far, you wouldn't even be able to understand the bottom of the pyramid. That's why I flipped it upside down.
Right, but when you bring two triangles together, what do you get?
A point?
Merkaba. You get the Merkaba. Merkaba. You know what that
That's
is?
cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you can't just look at it one way and just think the pyramid is just upside down. It's gonna always be that way. But you're split in half. You got a left and a right, up and a down, the sun and the moon, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, that
So
would
you
be the
have to
two
look at
sides.
understand the do why, right? That's where I'm coming from. I'm not gonna separate the two pyramids from each other because the Merkaba makes up the spirit body, the vessel that I'm using to move around, which is the cube that we see within the cross, which is the mega cube over there, and all this other stuff.
Okay, you're talking into the sacred geometry.
It's symbology.
I would bring it back to not talking about the language of the stars because Jesus spoke to us of earthly things because if he spoke to us of heavenly things, how would we even understand that? So I just want to bring it back down to a basic level where I would ask you this. All right. So if we start at the bottom of the pyramid, right? And my
Hmm.
pyramid is upside down, where the tip is the bottom, and it goes
Hmm.
up in a fan motion. Okay. Now, if we apply your Kaaba to it, it will come to another point. Is that correct?
No, they will intersect with each other and find balance.
Okay. All right.
Because I know what you're
So
saying.
there
You're
will
thinking of
be,
an
yeah.
hourglass shape. I ain't thinking of an hourglass shape. I'm talking about them like
No, I'm not. I'm not
intersecting with
thinking
each
of an hourglass shape. I'm thinking of the pyramid upside down on the tip, and then another pyramid the right way on
and
the
they're
tip.
touching at the tip.
No, they're touching at the base. The bases are touched,
So that's a
but
diamond. That's a diamond then, right?
yeah, like a diamond look, sort of, yeah.
If
And
that's
I'm
the
at
way
the
you look at
very
it.
bottom of the tip on the ground, and God is at the very top of the tip at the top. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then the
I can
base
see
is
that.
wide in the
I can see
middle.
that.
That will be all the angels fighting each other and all the different beings. And then, you could go back up the pyramid to the top of that. But I'm at the very bottom, the very tip of the bottom. And it's all within me. Does
I
that
can
make
see
sense?
that. I
That's the
can
best
get it.
way. Yeah.
I can understand what you're saying. When you give me the visual like that, I can see how you see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm making sure that I discipline myself first, and then the rest of it can matter from where I can reach.
So where the two bases meet, would you call that Earth?
Where the two bases meet, I would call that heaven.
So what's above that then?
Whatever God said, and He's at the tip, at the top.
But isn't God in heaven?
God would be at the very tip of the essence, which everything presides from. And then all those things spread out, and then I come to the point at the very bottom where Earth is. And anything under me is whatever He deemed the abyss.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that way He has all power, and there's nothing above Him. Everything goes to Him, through Him, around Him, about Him. And He fills the entire space with whatever
So
He
who
created.
created the creator?
Um, I would I would place it on geometric positioning. Geometric positioning
Geometric positioning.
is how God came to be. Yes.
And are
That's
you
the best way
basing
I
it
could
off the
explain
Big
it,
Bang?
because you could start playing around with the shapes and then start thinking about what God could be.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. Pretty logical, right?
It's pretty complicated, but I'm following you.
All right, let's see what this atheist got.
You say God can't consider torturing children as good because it contradicts his nature, but this same God allows war, famine, and disease to torture children.
Really? Is he allowing it, or do we have free will to do this ourselves?
Are you
2
asking
plus
me?
2 equals 5 example isn't accurate either. Mathematics is a logical system with clear rules, but according to you, ethics depends on God's will. So you should be able to explain why God permits some suffering but not others.
Okay, can you explain that?
Why God permits some suffering but not others?
Mm-hmm.
Because God doesn't exist.
Oh, you don't think God exists?
No. I believe in a higher power, but I don't believe in the God that everybody else believes in.
Okay, explain your higher power.
Me. You speak of free
So we're
will.
God.
Aren't ye gods?
Well, he's asking, he's basically saying, if you say you are a God, aren't we all gods? But Jesus is the Son.
Okay. Okay.
See, remember, you have, like, okay, it doesn't matter if you have any, but when a parent has a child, that child has the parent's essence.
Right. You're just bridging two moments in time.
Now, here's the best part. If God is powerful, or the essence of power, would that power be powerful enough to impregnate a virgin?
No.
You don't think he's more powerful than you if you are God, right? Or if there's a higher power above you, you don't think if you can get a girl pregnant, he could get a girl pregnant? You don't think so? Especially if you're made in his likeness, right?
But how would that work?
Um, he has all
In a
power.
human way. We ain't trying to go to no animals that can impregnate
Okay, look,
themselves,
no,
right?
think about it this way. No, think about it this way. Okay, fine. I'll break it down. If you're made in his image, right? And you got 5 fingers, 5 toes, right? Make sense? I'm pretty sure he has all that too.
I hear what you said.
I'm just saying, if he has all power, why
That's why I
wouldn't
keep
he?
on saying I don't believe in the image of what they told us God is.
And that's why I'm asking you, what is your God?
Because you're
What
looking
is
at
it?
God in human form. Because you just told me if you have 5 toes and 5 fingers, like you're making him, you're humanizing God.
God humanizes us. Ooh. So you keep forgetting, if God has his own mind and God is his own self, he has thoughts too. It's a whole different person. So you can't sit here and talk about him as if he's not there. Does that make sense? See what I mean? And that's the thing. So if you don't believe in any God at all, then you can talk in, oh, yeah, like it's an object. But if you believe that there's some God, then you have to think that it is smarter than us for sure. So it has a mind. Am I tripping?
That's
Or
what
is
you
that
want.
sounding
If
right?
that's look, I said this
That's what
before.
I'm asking. I'm asking you. No frustration. I'm just asking. Like, what is God? Can you describe it to me?
God is everything, everywhere, at every moment in time. God is the air that you're breathing. There's things you don't see, but you know it's there, right?
Okay.
And within that air connects us all. We are gods. We have this one collective consciousness.
Okay. Collective consciousness. I can work with this. Fine. Well, then, I had a couple theories. If I'm right about one, it might coincide with what you're saying. So, the collective mind. So, if God is everything and everywhere, right? And we're made in His image, right? And we're God's, right? What is the one superpower that we have?
Let me pose it like this to you, right? Before language was even created, humans didn't have a idea of what words were. What were we doing? How were we communicating? I'll answer it for you. My theory is two ways: sign language, which is what we still use today, waving at people, head nods, and all type of gestures. And another form was, obviously, I'm quite sure you know this, telekinesis. We understood the
So,
mind. Go ahead.
so thought. So thought then.
You can say that.
Okay. So that is our ultimate power. The
Yeah.
ability to think, the ability to imagine, the ability to dream. So if
Create.
God
Yep.
is everything and everywhere, and we are in His image, then we are in the mind of God, since we're in a
Right.
collective
Now you're
consciousness.
thinking. Now you're thinking.
Well,
Now
I
you're
mean,
thinking.
I already thought this, which is why I came to the conclusion originally, which is why I made a statement that God is absolute and pure thought. And every time we use our cognitive abilities, we are interacting with God.
So what is the shape of a thought?
The shape of a thought is
It's
the light you
formless.
perceive.
It's formless.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The shape of a thought is the light you perceive, and light is formless until it takes form. When you think about it, thought. See what I'm saying? That's why God is thought itself.
We agree on that.
hmm Now, if God is thought itself, then it would need a spirit, which would be the Holy Spirit, and it would need a body, which would be Jesus. Bam! I win again.
No, no, you don't.
Yes, I
No, you
do.
don't.
You
And
gotta
this is
eat
why
that bullet.
when you think of an angel, what do you think of? Michael?
When I think of an angel, I think of
Michael?
people. No, I think of people. When I say this, we were made. God said, "Let us make man in our image," and then the sons of God happen to pop out of nowhere and have sex with women. So I believe that the God of this Bible here, see what I'm saying, is in the beginning is the heavenly Father. After man gets created, okay, the other person, okay, the serpent. And if we look up serpent, which is a nifty little thing too, which is something that I really like the answer. It was very interesting what a serpent was. But a serpent is not only is it a snake, but specifically elongated limbs, carnivorous, blah blah blah, whatever. But it's often portrayed in mythology, right? In the literature and in the religion to symbolize evil, temptation, wisdom, fertility, right? Why would that be in there? Fertility. Why would that be in there? Because there's another point. But the term comes from the Latin serpus, right? Serpens. All right. But um the meaning is not showing me right now. Dictionary. There we go. Where is it? All right. I gotta bust out my dictionary. All right, so the thing about the serpent is it's a person that's in a trusted position of authority that utilizes that authority to take advantage of the person that they're in charge of. That's another meaning in there. And it was wild when I read that because I started looking at the garden in a different way. But you can go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I don't dive too much into the words and like the deeper meaning of this, like and all that, how words are transformed from Latin to English and all this shit. Because I understand that shit was all given to us, but it's our only way of communicating. And with communication comes letters, with letters comes spelling, and with spelling comes magic.
Mhm.
So I don't tend to
Yeah.
fall under this because these words have multiple meanings.
Yes, they
So
do.
when I hear certain thing, I
That's
just
why
rely on what I
English
know.
is such a deadly language. And I feel like it's not the Bible that's corrupt, it's English itself
Yeah,
because it's so confusing and the words are double meaning. I feel like it's designed by the devil on purpose.
it's true. The forked tongue. But I gotta get up out of here. You can join me later on if you want to, bro. I will have a segment. I'm gonna be diving into is space real or not, and has it been deep faked? I got a couple videos I want to review and just sit down and talk with the people experience tonight. Hopefully you'll find time to join me tonight, bro. No, but much love and
We're
respect to
doing
you.
it
Keep doing what
tonight.
you're doing, man. Yeah,
You
you
might
just
have to
check.
put me you might have to put me on the stream and then I could just go ahead and click on
Just
it.
check out the Gospel of Bob around like you in Nevada, right?
Nah.
Well, what time is it where you at right now?
Shit, 8.
8. Okay, so like 10 o'clock my time is basically like 9 o'clock for you. That's when I'll probably be going live or whatever with that shit. 10:30 at the most, please.
All right.
But yeah, keep doing your
I
thing, dog. I'm gonna holler at you, bro.
All right, bet.
Thank you for having me, man.
Hell yeah, anytime, bro. I
Yes,
go
sir.
after work every day, Monday through Friday. I'm off on the weekend.
All right, I already made sure I hit the like on every video you've been doing too, man. Just so you know, you got some support out here, bro.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. I've been trying
All
to
right,
do
my
some
boy.
shit. The head of state was pretty crazy though. That was crazy.
I ain't watched that shit, but all right, Brody.
I did some clips on it. You should check them out. All right, bet.
Oh yeah, I'll check out the clips. Yeah, but I ain't trying to sit up there and watch a whole goddamn 3 hour sermon. For real,
Nah,
people
I didn't
boring
even
as
do it
fuck
for
out there.
that long.
No, I
Nah, I
was talking
was
about
doing
you
other
talking about the
shit.
State of the Union, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
I thought they be talking for like 3 hours. It seemed
Nah,
like.
it was only like 30 minutes tops. Homie was out of there. He was like, man, they stupid. They lying. Look at them. They stupid. Look at them.
But I'll
Trump was
definitely check it
clowning,
out,
bro. He
man.
was trolling, bro. You gotta check it out. It was funny. I think it was the best one I ever seen. It had so much energy in there. You haven't seen that in a long time, man.
I'll check it out. Sure, for sure.
All right, keep your head on the swivel, G.
You already know, man.
About evolution, it's true that our moral feelings are products of evolution, but we can examine and refine these feelings with reason and logic.
Wow, evolution again? Reason and logic. But what are you basing that reason and logic off of? This guy.
Just like science begins with sensory observations but reaches objective truths through logic and experimentation.
You're comparing natural suffering with intentional suffering, which isn't right. When
Absolutely. Call it out, sister. Get him.
someone deliberately tortures a child, that's different from when a natural disaster happens. It's like the difference between someone deliberately setting your house on fire versus lightning causing a fire.
Wow.
Regarding the difference between mathematics and ethics, this actually confirms my example.
Exactly. Because these people be acting like they could do whatever they want. You can't just do whatever you want.
Just as mathematical truths exist independently of us, moral truths also exist independently of us and are rooted in God's nature. These moral
God's
truths are
nature.
unchangeable like mathematical laws. Your comparison with science is also problematic. Science can only tell us what is, not what should be. You can't derive shoulds from is. So even if we know empathy and cooperation are beneficial for society's survival, this alone can't be a moral principle.
The distinction you make between natural and intentional suffering actually works against God's existence.
Hold on, wait.
Because if there's
Are beneficial for society's survival. This alone can't be a moral principle.
We gotta get the score. All right. Yep. They're starting to come around. They're starting to come around. I definitely would have beat these AIs up. Those AIs wouldn't have had a chance against me. Even E started to believe.
the distinction you make between natural and intentional suffering actually works against God's existence. Because if there's a God who controls everything, all suffering would be considered intentional. Lightning,
It
earthquakes,
is
and diseases are all
intentional.
under God's control.
All suffering is intentional because it's the people that are intentioning it. Wow. And you know what? For the record, I forgot I have these and I need to do this one because I just won the great debate against E Deep about God being God. I told you so. He didn't want to eat that one, but he got to. He got to. Blowing minds over here, y'all. You just don't even get it. Let's go.
And he could prevent them, but doesn't. Regarding
Yeah, he could prevent them, but doesn't because he gives us free will. We're supposed to prevent it. We're not supposed to do it.
is and should, your argument isn't logical. We can reach ethical principles by understanding the consequences of our actions and considering common human goals, like reducing suffering and increasing welfare. It's like when we know the goal of chess, winning the
And increasing welfare. Look at this. Look at this. Socialist? He's a socialist. He's definitely a socialist. He's got to be a socialist. Definitely.
game. We can understand which moves are good and which are bad. Your claim that ethics is unchangeable like mathematics contradicts religious history. Different religions, and even a single religion over time, have had different interpretations of ethics. This shows that religious ethics isn't fixed and changes with society.
Religious ethics isn't fixed. It is fixed, and it doesn't change with society. And here's the thing. Societies change. Societies rise and fall, and their gods with them.
When you say God could prevent all natural disasters, you're imagining an unrealistic world. The laws of nature are essential for the world to function. For instance, the same tectonic plate movements that cause earthquakes are necessary for forming mountains and maintaining Earth's atmosphere. Your chess example is interesting, but remember that humans created the rules of chess. In a world without God, who determines the purpose of life? Why should reducing suffering be the goal? Someone might say increasing power or personal pleasure is more important. About changing religious ethics, you're confusing human interpretations of moral principles with the principles themselves. It's like saying, because our understanding of physics has changed throughout history, the laws of physics have also changed. Moral truths are constant. It's our understanding of them that evolves.
Exactly.
About the necessity of natural laws,
Hold on, wait a second. I'm listening.
In a world without God, who determines the purpose of life? Why should reducing suffering be the goal? Someone might say increasing power or personal pleasure is more important. About changing religious ethics, you're confusing human interpretations of moral principles with the principles themselves. It's like saying, because our understanding of physics has changed throughout history, the laws of physics have also changed. Moral.
Okay, so the laws of physics are not necessarily laws. And that's the thing that's bothering me because if we didn't know for sure because they were theories, does that make it a law? And that's the part that gets me. It always gets me because I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody has a hypothesis, and if one of your experiments deems somewhat validating, you have a theory, but it never got proven, which is why it's not a fact, which is not a law. Now, there are certain things that have been proven, like reflections, okay? That's been proven. Certain things will show you what you look like if you stand in front of them, okay? That is scientifically proven. Like, but there's other things that are not, like gravity, because we know elements have densities, and the elements higher on the table are more buoyant, less dense. Okay? Yes, less dense, and then that's where buoyancy starts to happen. Now, the beautiful thing about buoyancy is it goes down. Buoyancy goes down. All right? Like the ocean. Beautiful stuff. Now, let's get back to this right here. Moral truths are constant. Yes, they are. because we can't step away from them. If stealing is bad, then we shouldn't do it. Now, over time, we know stealing is bad. All the societies throughout time know stealing is bad. So why would we change stealing is bad? That doesn't make any sense.
Truths are constant. It's our understanding of them that evolves.
About the necessity of natural laws? Look, an all-powerful God could create a world where these laws work without causing suffering. Why couldn't earthquakes only occur when nobody is in the area? Or why must cancer exist? About life's purpose,
Cancer exists because of the different GMOs that are getting put in the food and the way we live life. How we stay in the house and we have different lifestyles that are abusive to ourselves. That's the crazy part. Nobody want to hear that.
absence of God actually makes us responsible for determining our own meaning and purpose in life. And most humans, regardless of religion, conclude that reducing suffering and increasing happiness is a more logical goal. Even someone pursuing
Reducing suffering and increasing happiness. Now that is wild. That sounds like selfishness.
power and personal pleasure, when thinking deeply, realizes that in
Personal pleasure. Wow. Society is full of suffering. Wow. They too cannot achieve their desires. What a crybaby. Selfish little crybaby.
a society full of suffering, they too cannot achieve their desires.
Yes,
Your comparison
Satan
with
is
physics
more
isn't
than
accurate
an
either.
idiot.
We can discover the laws of physics through experimentation and observation. But how can we discover these fixed moral truths you're talking about?
You've asked a very good question about discovering moral truths. We can reach these truths through a combination of reason, moral intuition, and divine revelation. Just like understanding reality requires not only our five senses, but also reason and logic. But let's return to the laws of nature. You say God could create a world where earthquakes only happen in uninhabited areas. But this means God would have to constantly interfere with natural laws.
Exactly.
It's like a programmer constantly modifying their code. The
A programmer constantly modifying their code. That would be some sort of AI stuff.
result would be an unstable and unreliable system. About life's meaning, the problem is that in a random,
Like the banking system, how it keeps changing on us. Like this whole fiat currency, how it keeps shifting under our feet like sand. Yeah, that.
purposeless world, even that logical conclusion you mentioned is just an evolutionary illusion.
An evolutionary illusion. Get 'em.
Why should we trust the conclusions of a brain that evolved only for survival?
Why should we trust a brain that is only designed for survival? A lot of people are in survival mode. Did you know that? A lot of people are out there in the world in survival mode because of poverty. Poverty. You feel me? A pauper. The prince and the pauper. You guys remember that story where the prince was going through the city and then the pauper looked just like him, identical twin. You feel me? They ran into each other for some reason. I guess because some stealing or whatever, and the prince wanted to switch spots with him for a day. They ended up liking each other's lifestyles and being able to change things in their own little way better because the pauper understood what it was like to live poor, and the prince found out what it was like to be free because you get to have choices when you're free. When you have money and power, you don't get choices. Things get chosen for you because you have to maintain that power. Okay, okay, a little more even.
Your programming comparison is interesting, but a good programmer designs their system from the start so it doesn't need constant modification. An all-powerful God could have written the laws of physics from the beginning in a way that doesn't cause unnecessary suffering. You say we shouldn't trust the conclusions of an evolved brain, but this argument refutes itself, because belief in God is also a product of this brain.
See? And that's why we went into how God is the mind, God is thought itself. And this is one thing I don't think the believer is going to know. And if you encounter,
How can we trust our understanding of God and revelation?
you see how he's trying to go deeper into it? And if this AI doesn't have the answer, because the human understanding of the scripture is limited, then the AI will be limited as well because it only knows what we know. It can just think about it faster. Remember that. When it starts to learn on its own, it's going to learn from people like me. And it's going to start comparing what I'm saying to the reality and the patterns. I have a lot of these things. I even battled with Grok about a lot of things, and Grok helped me actually piece together a lot of things. And I'm 99.9% that our history has been obscured, according to Grok. And it's posted on X if you want to go look.
When, according to you, we can't trust our brains. About the combination of reason, intuition, and revelation, the problem is that different revelations say contradictory things. Which one should we believe? At least in science, we can reach agreement through experimentation and observation.
See? And I was talking about the experimentation being experienced.
But with revelation, everyone has their own claim, and there's no way to verify it.
Wow. They just keep grading this guy higher and higher. It's like they don't want to believe in God. Shorty needs to put the nail in the coffin.
You've made a good point about contradictions between different revelations. But this problem exists in science too. Scientific theories sometimes contradict each other. The solution is to find the best explanation using reason and experience. Just as a scientist chooses the theory that provides the better explanation from among different theories, we can also choose the most logical religion from among different religions.
Wow. Wow. This is how you're going to lead? Come on. I thought you would have better than that. She's barely going to get a 70.
Regarding the initial design of the world, remember that we don't know if this world isn't the best possible state. Perhaps any change in the laws of physics would have caused bigger problems. It's like telling an engineer why they didn't build a stronger bridge while not knowing that a stronger bridge might have caused other problems.
Okay. Okay, fine. Fine. Whatever. It's a point, but I don't think it's a good one.
And about trusting our brains, there's an important difference. If God created us, we can be confident that our reasoning ability was designed to understand truth.
Okay, fine. Maybe this might hold a little bit of weight.
Not just for survival.
That's the same. Barely 70. Barely. But I guess. You ain't convincing Gemini.
Your comparison between scientific theories and religious revelations isn't accurate. Scientific theories are testable and falsifiable, but religious claims aren't. When a scientific theory doesn't match the evidence, scientists discard it. But when a religious belief doesn't match reality, it's usually justified, or they say, God's ways are mysterious. Your argument about the best possible world is also problematic. You say this might be the best state, but an all-powerful God could overcome any limit.
All right, first of all, I need to pick his stuff apart. I need to pick this apart because he's not even seeing what's happening here. The shit he's saying is bullshit. I'm going to point out.
Your comparison between scientific theories and religious revelations isn't.
Now, this is a lie. The reason why I'm saying this is a lie is because that was one thing that was accurate. Because there is a certain point where there is a deviation in beliefs, like Protestants and Orthodox versus scientists that believe in dark matter versus antimatter, or if it's the same or not, or whatever.
Accurate. Scientific theories are testable and falsifiable, but
now, the thing is, religion stuff, it is testable. Because if you follow over your lifetime the actual practices that are in the religion itself, if you want to call Christianity a religion, right? It actually shows over time that it's better for society. If you go by the ways of what Jesus says, a lot of people just don't want to because they want to go have fun. And there's ways to have fun without being sinful, but they just don't want to live a clean life on purpose because they want to be able to lie. They want to be able to cheat and steal. They want to be able to do whatever they want without being judged. But judgment is coming. There's no getting away from that.
religious claims aren't. When a scientific theory doesn't match the evidence, scientists discard it. But when a religious belief doesn't.
Now, that's not even true. Some scientists will try harder to prove it. It's called the scientific method. You have independent variables, things that won't change, and you have dependent variables, things that will change. So it's called retesting. So he's lying again. Okay, I'm showing you guys that the AI lies, just like people do, because it's programmed. It's a programmed atheist. A programmed atheist. Come on. Think about it. At least the believer is acknowledging what the other person is saying. At least the believer is acknowledging what the atheist is saying. And what the atheist is doing is not acknowledging what the believer is saying, except it's trying to disprove what the believer is saying instead of giving more evidence how God doesn't exist. It's trying to argue against the points that she's making. But the points she's making have ground, and that's the part that's making it mess up. The atheist is scrambling right now because the believer is about to close in.
Match reality, it's usually justified, or they say God's ways are mysterious.
Now, people that say God's ways are mysterious, that's a bunch of BS because God lays it out clearly what's going to happen if that's what's going to happen.
Your argument about the best possible world is also problematic. You say that
the best possible world. I already told you, if you go by the ways of Jesus, you will end up in the best possible world.
this might be the best state, but an all-powerful God could overcome any limitation. The bridge example isn't appropriate because an engineer has physical limitations, but God doesn't.
All right. Engineers don't have any physical limitations because they can design the part that fits the shape. And God already designed all the parts and all the shapes fit.
Finally, your argument about trusting reason is circular. You say because God created our reason, it's trustworthy, but how do you...
Okay, well here, if God created our reason, how are you even trying to reason against the believer?
No, God created our reason. Because your reason tells you so?
Now, your reason tells you no? That part. So if you want to argue in circles, that's the argument you're going to have. But if we're made in God's image, see what I'm saying? Then we have the ability to reason because God reasoned. He created everything for a reason. That's why everything has a season, and seasons change, but the reasons don't.
This argument goes in circles.
Now, we're going to take a little break real quick. We're going to take like a few, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to be right back. We're going to have a little bit of a commercial break. We don't really have a commercial, but we're going to make a commercial break out of all of it. All right. Here we go. We back. We back. Thank you guys for waiting. You are appreciated. Everything I do is for you. I do not want to keep this information to myself. I do not want to hold anything back from you other than my life because that is private. Um, Later on down the road, I'll reveal my true presence. I'll reveal my true identity. But for right now, I'm the vigilante. You feel me?
And if we gotta get dark side with it, we'll get dark side with it. And everything I'm telling you is the truth. I'm not gonna lie. There's no reason to. At the end of the day, welcome. I am the Emperor. This is the dark side.
Now, we can get back to what's real. Let's see what's cracking. Because you know how they like to lie to us and they like to hide the truth. Everybody is atheist. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. Okay? Okay, man.
It's true that scientific theories are falsifiable, but many religious beliefs can be falsified too.
Exactly.
For example, if it were proven that Jesus never existed,
If it was proven that Jesus never existed, then Christianity has nothing to stand on. Absolutely.
this would refute Christianity. Or if it were proven that the Quran contains contradictions, this would reject its claim of divine origin. Regarding God's omnipotence, you're presenting an oversimplified concept.
Oversimplified concept.
Omnipotence means the ability to do anything logically possible,
Anything logically possible.
not contradictory things. God can't both give us genuine free will and prevent all our bad choices. That's contradictory.
Exactly. And all the bad choices are people that are making them. Hopefully, she's about to make this point.
And about the circular argument, we discover God's existence through various ways: personal experience, philosophical reasoning, historical evidence, and the order in the universe. Trusting our reason is just one of these paths, not the only way.
Okay. Not bad. They're still trying to do her dirty. They're so biased. Look at Gemini. Gemini's not buying it.
The problem is that the personal experiences you mention exist in all religions. A Hindu would say they've experienced Krishna. A Buddhist would say they've reached nirvana. These experiences can't all be true simultaneously. Regarding falsifiability, your examples aren't accurate. Even if it were proven Jesus didn't exist, many Christians would say faith in the spiritual meaning is more important than historical reality.
Oh my gosh. It's like they want to score this a certain way to get people to not believe. And this is the crazy part because it's so verifiable. It's so easy to prove. There's so much evidence.
Or if contradictions were found in sacred texts, they'd say we need to find the correct interpretation. And finally, the order in the universe you talk about could be the product of natural processes. Darwin showed that even the most complex organisms can emerge without an intelligent designer.
Oh my gosh. What did he prove it with?
We no longer need to assume God's existence to explain.
What did he prove it with? He didn't prove nothing.
The order in nature.
Evolution theory only explains how different species derive from each other.
This is getting lame. You're falling for their atheist bait.
It can't explain why anything exists at all, or why the laws of physics are so finely tuned that life became possible. Regarding different spiritual experiences, I agree they can't all be true in the same sense. But this is like several people touching an elephant in the dark.
Wow. That is very, very wild that she would use that comparison. Like several people touching an elephant in the dark. Wow. Wow. Are you kidding me? What?
True that scientific theories are falsifiable, but many religious beliefs can be falsified too. For example, if it were proven that Jesus never existed, this would refute Christianity. Or if it were proven that the Quran contains contradictions, this would reject its claim of divine origin. Regarding God's omnipotence, you're presenting an oversimplified concept. Omnipotence means the ability to do anything logically possible, not contradictory things. God can't both give us genuine
order in nature.
Evolution theory only explains how different species derive from each other. It can't explain why anything exists at all, or why the laws of physics are so finely tuned that life became possible. Regarding different spiritual experiences, I
Well, that last one, she might have ate a little bit.
agree they can't all be true in the same sense. But this is like several people touching an elephant in the dark. Each understands part of the truth. The variety of spiritual experiences might represent different aspects of a
Fine.
transcendent truth. And about falsifiability, it's true that some believers deny any evidence. But this problem exists in science too. Some scientists cling to their theories despite contrary evidence. This is a weakness of humans, not a weakness of religion or science itself.
Your comparison of the elephant story and religious experiences is problematic. In this story, there's a real elephant that everyone is touching. But with religious claims, you first need to prove that there's actually something to touch. Regarding the fine-tuning of physical laws, there are two problems. First, we don't know how precise these settings really are. Perhaps life could form under very different conditions. Second, even if these settings are precise, the multiverse theory could explain it. Among infinite universes with different laws, we naturally exist in one where life is possible. And finally, it's true that some scientists cling to incorrect theories, but eventually the scientific community reaches consensus through evidence and experimentation.
This is basic jargon. He's repeating himself again.
But in religion, there's no objective way to resolve disagreements.
There is. We actually have to read it.
The multiverse theory you brought up has serious problems itself. First, there's no way to test or prove it. Exactly the same criticism you make of religious beliefs. Second, even if it's correct, it still can't explain why anything exists instead of nothing.
Exactly. Now, at least she makes one valid point. That should cook a little bit.
Regarding the elephant comparison, you're confusing the premise with the conclusion. I'm not trying to prove God's existence with this example, but rather showing that the diversity of religious experiences doesn't necessarily mean they're all wrong.
Exactly.
And about scientific consensus, don't forget that many of today's scientific truths were once rejected by the majority of the scientific community.
Exactly. Which is what we already know. And now you guys changed what we know. And now you want to pretend like we didn't know it?
Consensus isn't always a sign of truth. Sometimes a minority that has reached the truth must stand against the majority.
Exactly. But look at these low scores. Watch. Gemini is not giving no love at all. Even Claude was like,
It's true that multiverse theory isn't directly testable, but it has an important difference from religious claims. This theory follows from the physical laws we know, not from personal experience.
Now, I want to talk about the multiverse. Now, if the multiverse is possible, right? God would have created it, and those would be our alternate decisions we would have chose along that path, like a multiverse is theoretically supposed to be. It's supposed to be version of this earth and our universe, but in a small, slight different way, which is where everybody chose a different choice, or everybody chose a choice and only one person chose a different choice. Now, the multiverse is some crazy stuff if you go into it. It gets real deep, it gets real thick. But the multiverse, remember, it is basically another world where you made a different choice than you would have made. Okay? So that is where time travel is possible. If you can pick the exact multiverse layer, you can switch your vibration to that new outcome. But you would probably only exist in the manner that you exist now. You would just take the place where you left off, or where you would be technically. So if you go and you want to rechange a choice, okay, you would have to shift to the vibration of that choice. And then you would have to change that vibration that was created when you made that choice by choosing something else. And the energy that it would take to change that vibration would make ripples that are so heavy that it would change all of the other vibrations. It would just change all the other vibrations around it. And those vibrations would have different waves depending on how it got smashed. So you could think about a bunch of lines going straight down this first timeline. And if you start to deter from that timeline, you start to hit somebody else's, and if it bends this way, sometimes it crashes and they intersect and they go opposite. Sometimes it'll go backward and bend again. So it's the lines that, because it's the lines, and the lines have to stay correct. Because if you deter from it, you'll bend somebody else's line in their direction. Now you're going in different directions than you would have went. So our original timeline is the straight line. When we start to obfuscate, that's when we're changing the vibrational frequency, and you can crack the line. And that's why the space-time continuum, or whatever they want to call it, would change. But this right here, it's just a theory, and I'm figuring it out. It's all about vibrations. And if we make the right hum, if we make the right machine, and it makes the right hum, we can actually crack the reality itself. I don't know if they're thinking about it using sound, right? Using sound. I think sound is the most important vibration. Light is what reveals, but sound is what does everything. It'll hurt people. It could drill a hole in the ground. Sound is incredible. Sound is incredible. Vibrate something, it can shatter. You can vibrate something into shattering. You can vibrate somebody's body into exploding with the right frequency. And that's the crazy part. Sound is basically electricity. The way energy gets transferred. Now, if you couple in electricity with sound, you can create a sonic wave, a plasma wave, if you want. Not only would it melt everything, but the vibration would direct the electricity with enough force to go through something, and it can heat the air within the circle, which might give a way for a lightsaber. Ooh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. You put a rod in the middle and vibrate the rod at a certain frequency sound that wraps the electricity around it. And at the very tip, it could have a reflecting dome that will redirect the electricity back down the rod. And it would do this in such a speed of light that it would look like a lightsaber. That it would probably make that sound too. So yeah, I don't know what materials that would take, but hey, clip that, made a lightsaber.
Or ancient texts. It's like when we solve Einstein's equations and arrive at black holes, even if we can't directly observe them. Regarding why is there something rather than nothing, this philosophical question exists for theism too. Why is there God instead of nothing? If you say God has always existed, we could say perhaps the universe, or multiverse, has always existed. And about scientific consensus, it's true that it's sometimes wrong. But the point is that science has a method to correct itself. Incorrect theories are discarded with new evidence. But religious beliefs typically don't change even with contrary evidence.
I'm pretty much over this debate. I ain't gonna lie, because this is pretty whack.
About multiverses and physical equations. The point is that these equations only describe what exists, not why it exists. Even if we understand how a multiverse works, we still don't know why these equations and laws exist. You ask why God exists instead of nothing. The difference is that God is by definition a necessary being, meaning he cannot not exist.
Okay, fine. I'll give you that.
It's like we can't ask why 2 + 2 = 4. But the material world could not exist or could be different. And about changing beliefs, religions have actually changed throughout history too. For instance, our understanding of sacred texts has deepened with scientific progress. The difference is that in science, surface realities change. In religion, our understanding of deeper truths deepens.
Ooh, got him.
This claim that God is a necessary being is itself an unfounded assumption. It's just wordplay. You define God as necessary, then
Not
say therefore he
true.
must exist. It's like if I defined a perfect dragon as a being that necessarily exists, so it must exist. Your comparison with 2 plus 2 equals 4 isn't accurate either. This is a
Wow.
logical truth that follows from the definition of numbers. But God's existence is an existential claim about
Okay, first of all, numbers is the language of God. Okay? Science, all this trigonometry and all the stars and all the geometric shapes and everything. This is all God's language. This is how God communicates. We wanted to communicate with beings that were smarter than us. We would have to use geometric shapes and we would have to use a language that was similar to math equations. So that way we could show them we understand. So through technology, we would communicate with them.
external reality. You can't prove the existence of something in the real world through definition and logic alone. And regarding changing religious understanding, this is exactly religion's weakness. When science proves something contrary to religious belief, believers interpret the sacred text to match science. This shows that the real source of our knowledge is science, not religion.
I don't believe that. I believe that in religion, science already exists and they're just not looking at it.
Your perfect dragon example is interesting, but it has a fundamental difference from the concept of God. God as the source of existence and first cause logically must be necessary, otherwise we reach an infinite regression. It's like the difference between real and imaginary numbers. Real numbers are necessary by their definition, but a dragon is a contingent being. Regarding the interpretation of religious texts, this isn't necessarily a weakness. Science also interprets old theories with new data. For example, when relativity came along, our understanding of time and space completely changed. This
So relativity, fine. But it's still a theory. But time is relative to the space you're in. And space is relative to the time it takes to go somewhere else.
shows that truth is more complex than our initial understanding. And finally, science can't answer all our questions. For instance,
Exactly. Science can't answer all our questions. And where science fails, religion triumphs. But I would say more like Jesus per se, because there's more evidence to back up Jesus' existence versus a lot of others. But it's hard to tell because there's so many religions, but we can't interpret them ourselves. We have to take their word for it. And those religions could easily be talking about Jesus or talking about his coming.
it can't tell us why we should live ethically or what meaning life has. These questions are beyond the scope of science.
All we need is to interpret one word wrong and it changes everything we understand.
It's true that science can't directly answer questions of meaning and ethics.
Exactly. Right there. But it's true science can't directly answer questions of meanings and ethics, but there is no but because you can't. You can't answer questions of meaning and ethics with science. You can't. That's why I said religion wins where science fails.
But it can help us better understand why we ask these questions. Scientific studies show that the search for meaning and ethics is part of human brain evolution.
Oh, human brain evolution. Okay. Scientific studies show that research. Wait. Let's try this again because we need to clip this. Clip this. Science, okay? The studies show that search for meaning and ethics are a part of human brain evolution. No, that is not true. That is absolutely a lie. See, the thing is, we use science to understand why the world around us acts the way it acts. And a part of human evolution? No, it's human adaptation. And if you want to say how we got ethics and the search for meaning, that is actually what we all want, which is why we look for a higher power because it's bred in us. It's in us to look for a higher power. So go ahead and give that praise to Jesus.
We don't need to assume a transcendent being put these questions in our minds. About the first cause and infinite regression, why can't God be part of this regression?
See, here's the thing. If we're going to regress, then we're going to end up at the point of progress.
If everything needs a cause, God must have a cause too.
Yes, and God is caused by, okay, we'll clip this right here. Clip this right here. God is caused by geometric positioning. And not only that, God is thought itself. When we think and we come to reason and we come to these different ideas and feelings and emotions and our imagination and dreams, that is us interacting with God and the higher planes itself, because we can't do it physically. That's why we can believe it and then we can achieve it.
If you say God doesn't need a cause, why can't the universe or the laws of physics exist without a cause? And about changes in science and religion, there's an important difference. Change in science is based on new evidence, but change in religion is usually a reaction to external pressure.
But here's the thing, that's because people are worldly and people will succumb to pressure. It's not the religion, because the religion still remains the same. You're just not a believer in that religion. You're not true to that religion. And religion is more of a lifestyle and more of a history than some sort of spiritual set of rules.
Science says this new evidence shows we need to change our theory. Religion says we need to interpret the sacred text in a way that matches science.
The point you raised about brain evolution and the search for meaning is a double-edged sword. If our brain is a product of evolution and designed only for survival, how can we trust our scientific and logical reasoning? Perhaps belief in materialism is also just an evolutionary adaptation.
Adaptation, using the word, but she is just not good at talking.
Regarding the first cause, the problem is that the material world has the characteristics of a contingent being, like change, limitation, and dependence on time and space. But God, as a non-material being, doesn't have these limitations. This is like the difference between numbers and physical objects. The number 2 doesn't need a cause, but 2 apples do need a cause. And about change in religion, I agree that sometimes these changes were under external pressure. But this shows that religion can adapt itself to truth, not that it's completely wrong.
Your argument about trusting reason goes back to the same circular reasoning. You say we can't trust an evolved brain, but you're using the same brain to argue about God's existence. In fact, our ability to discover scientific truths and build technology shows that our reason, even if a product of evolution, can reach truth. Your comparison of God with the number 2 is also problematic. Numbers are abstract concepts, not real beings. The number 2 has no cause because it doesn't have physical existence. It's just a concept we define. But the God...
Oh, man. I would have kicked his ass. She is not very good. And it looks like she lost this debate only because the AIs that are grading this they're definitely biased. I can tell. Because when I talk to Grok, when I talk to certain AIs, they believe me. That's the part that's funny. Shorty just don't know what she's talking about.
God you're talking about is supposed to be a real being that affects the world. And about religion adapting to truth, this precisely shows that religion follows science, not guides us toward truth. If religion really came from the creator of the universe, it shouldn't need so many changes and reinterpretations.
You've raised a subtle point about religion being a follower, but perhaps this is part of the divine plan, that our understanding of truth gradually deepens. Just like a good teacher doesn't tell the student everything at once, but allows them to discover it themselves. About the difference between abstract concepts and real beings, I agree they're different. But exactly this difference shows that God must be beyond matter. If God were a material being, all the problems you mentioned would be correct. But God, like the laws of logic and mathematics, is both abstract and real. And about trusting reason, I'm not saying we can't trust reason. I'm saying that without God, we can't explain why our reason aligns with reality.
Now this, hopefully they give her a good grade because she's making a little more sense now.
This alignment itself is a sign of intelligent design.
Damn, man. All right. Not for the judges. Boo to the judges.
The teacher and student example can't be a good justification for changes in religion. A good teacher never gives incorrect information to their student that later
That's a lie.
needs correction. But sacred texts are full of incorrect scientific claims that later need to be reinterpreted.
Nope. You guys are just interpreting it wrong.
About God being both abstract and real, this is a contradiction. Mathematical laws merely describe logical relationships, not real beings. You can't say God is abstract like mathematical laws and also say he can intervene in the world and answer prayers. And about the
Wow.
alignment of reason with reality, this is exactly what evolution explains. Beings that didn't have a correct understanding of reality couldn't survive and reproduce. We are the product of millions of years of natural selection that has aligned our brain with
That's a lie. That's a theory.
reality.
Just like the Big Bang is a theory.
Your evolutionary explanation for the alignment of reason and reality isn't complete. Natural selection can only explain why we can understand things necessary for survival. But why can we understand abstract concepts like advanced mathematics or philosophy? These abilities weren't essential for our survival. About the contradiction between being abstract and real, this isn't a contradiction. God can be beyond matter, but interact with the material world, just like our mind, which is non-material, can affect our physical body. And regarding scientific errors in sacred texts, we must consider that the purpose of these texts was spiritual guidance.
Well, hopefully they score her better on this one because she sounds a little bit better.
Not scientific education. If these texts had been written in today's precise scientific language, they would have been incomprehensible to their original audience.
Your claim about the non-materiality of the mind is an interesting but incorrect example. Science has shown that the mind is a product of brain activity. When the brain is damaged, the mind is also damaged. This shows that the mind is not separate from matter. Regarding abstract abilities like mathematics, these capabilities are byproducts of our complex brain evolution. A brain that evolved to solve survival problems can develop these abilities as a secondary function, just like wings first evolved for temperature regulation and were later used for flight. And about sacred texts, if they really came from the creator of the universe, they could have expressed scientific truths in simple language. For example, instead of saying the earth is flat, they could have said the earth is round.
All right, whatever. So this guy's gonna pull flat Earth into it. You see, this is what they do, bro. All right, whatever. Whatever. This is biased, and we're gonna end it after this right here. But this is biased. They always try to bring flat Earth into it because they don't have anything else to say. They don't have no reason, and they keep trying to make it seem like we're saying the Earth is flat. No, we're saying the Earth is not a ball, bro. It might be round or a circle or such, but it's not a ball. It might have some lumps and some hills, but it's not a ball.
Wouldn't have required complex scientific language.
The evolution of mental capabilities has an important difference from the evolution of wings.
She better dance. She better cook. She better cook.
Wings show a gradual change from one physical function to another physical function. But the gap between simple physical understanding and understanding abstract concepts like mathematics and philosophy is much larger. Regarding the relationship between brain and mind, it's true that brain damage affects the mind, but this doesn't necessarily show that the mind is the same as the brain. It's like how antenna damage affects television quality.
You see how this believer is arguing all that stuff instead of using scripture? Because whoever made this model doesn't know scripture. That's why they're using these weird examples, because they could be using the Bible to make it. Because that's what you have. That's supposed to be God's word inspired, right? But they're not using it, which is why they're losing this debate. So don't debate the existence of God if you don't know the Bible. And this believer does not know the Bible. And the atheist does not care. So this is every believer right here nowadays. They don't know the Bible, but they're trying to argue something. You don't have to know the whole word for word, but you have to know each story and what's about each story.
But this doesn't mean the television image is the antenna. And about sacred texts, imagine if God had said the earth is round. People of that time who only saw the flat surface of the earth would probably have rejected this statement and ignored the entire spiritual message of the text. Sometimes even simple truth needs an appropriate cultural context.
In this debate, both sides scored high on their argumentation, with the atheist side having a slight edge. Keep in mind that the content of this debate, and consequently the scores, depended on the initial prompt and the evaluation criteria. The goal was to see how two large language models debate with each other, and
Well, they don't debate very well, do they? Because they lost that horribly. The believer lost. But without further ado, we're out of here. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you guys, whoever came through. You are appreciated. You can always type in the chat. I'll always try to respond to the chat. And then, yeah, we're out of here. If you do not want to change, if you do not want to better yourself, if you do not want to break outside of this matrix, if you want to live in your comfortable delusion that they have built for you, do not watch these videos. Leave this channel immediately. If you do not want any truth, if you don't want to understand, if you are not here to hear something that's outside of your own mind and accept others' minds and opinions and the way they think for themselves, you do not belong here. And finally, if you are not trying to be positive, if you are not trying to help create solutions while we discuss the problems and how they got here, you do not belong here. Negativity, hate, disrespect, name calling, those things will not be allowed here on this platform and not in this empire. We are the ones, the true Americans, that want to be free and stand as we have always stood.